Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Max Hаймендorф. I am from the UK. I live in London. And at the moment, the school that I am the principal of is on holiday. So that's okay. It means I can come to Bulgaria and say hello to you. It's good. I was in the first cohort of Teach First. So this is back in 2003. Teach First in England started. And I was one of the, in English we would say guinea pigs. So one of the testers at the beginning. And I heard that in Teach for Bulgaria you started in 2011. Are there any 2011 alumni here? Okay, brethren, good. So you know what it was like. It was very challenging to be at the start. But I think the people who started Teach First and the people who started Teach for Bulgaria have a special experience. And that's what I'm going to talk a little bit about. Tomorrow morning, I think 9:30, it is 9:30, please give me a thumbs up. I'm going to be speaking more about the school that I lead and my journey. And I was told this was more like a smaller group, so I thought rather than talk just at you, I hoped we could think a bit together and talk a bit together. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, a little bit of background about me so you understand where my energies and my interests come from. So this is rough, this isn't official, it's just my little thing. So just since 2003, there were some participants, that's the red line, down here. Each year, the number of Teach Firsts goes up and up. And the number that stay in teaching, this is a cumulative, is going up. And in 2008, I became the first principal of a school in England from the Teach First program. So that was 5 years after we started. So it's 2011 plus 5 years is 2016. So I'm assuming one of you is about to become a principal. We have one. Perfect. You're in perfect timing with me. Well done. Good. So this was the first cohort of Teach First. And this session today is all about our purpose. So I'm hoping someone's going to be translating in your ear what we mean by purpose. But the reason why we do the work. And I know Teach for Bulgaria, like Teach First, is a mission-led organization. There's a strong sense of purpose. But I think in terms of being a teacher and being a school leader, being a principal, it's very important that you're really clear about why you do what you do and why your school is like how it is. And I think in this group, we've got Teach for Bulgaria. We've also got principals and vice principals of schools. So welcome to you, all the principals and vice principals. And I guess this is mainly, especially to you. So I was very lucky growing up. I went to a school which was independent. That means my parents paid money, quite a lot of money, for me to go to a very good school. And in that school, it was selective. So the children in there, their parents were rich, and they had to pass a test. And as soon as you got into this school, it was assumed that you were going to go to a good university and have a good life. That was just assumed. It was just normal. And I was very lucky to be in that situation. But when I left Oxford, where I studied, and I started doing Teach First, I was in the normal world, the average world. I was in a school where no one in that school had ever gone to Oxford or Cambridge, where behavior was very bad, expectations were very low. The teachers, some of them were good, some of them were bad. The pupils' behavior was bad, the pupils' attitude was bad. And I felt it was really unfair that just because of luck, I had a different set of expectation. My parents and my school expected me to have a great life. In this school that I was teaching in, it wasn't expected. And there was a very important moment for me. I kind of worked very hard, and after 3 years in my Teach First school, I was sat around a meeting, and there was the vice principal, the other leaders, lots of important people. And we were talking about homework. Homework keeps us busy sometimes when we're in schools. And when we talked about homework, the vice principal said to me, "But Max, you can't expect these children to do homework." As in, their lives are so difficult, their parents are not maybe doing the right things, you can't expect them to do homework. Well, when I was at school, I was doing 2 or 3 hours of homework a night. And I had good teachers, and I was expected to do well. So if we don't expect our children to do work and to make an effort and to be determined, we can't expect great things to happen. That was something that I felt. So through Teach First, I began to get very angry about what was expected for children. And I guess many years later, I was given the opportunity to start a school. And I will talk more about the school tomorrow morning. But this leads me on to think about kind of why I do the work. So why for the last 7 years, 8 years, I've run a school. And after Teach First, I actually went into the city in London, into a well-paid consultancy job. And I left teaching for 1 year. And what I realized was, playing on a computer, doing Excel spreadsheets, is very boring compared to teaching. So if any of you have left teaching, you will learn that, the way I learned it. So now I am kind of back in the thing I love. And so for me, this is, for some of you who may have seen this, it's a TED Talk online. It's by a guy called Simon Sinek. He tries to talk about, the way an organization thinks and the way people think. And he makes this really strong point, which is most people, most of the time, think about what they do. So as teachers, I need to organize my lessons, I need to go to school, I need to maybe speak to some parents on the phone, I need to print things out, I need to mark the books. And as principals, you might think, I need to make sure I have the right teachers, I need to make sure the money is organized, I need to make sure that all the regulations are followed, that we're not doing anything wrong. And all of our lives can be caught up in what we do. It's like our to-do list. I've done this thing, I've done this thing. But particularly when you're the leader, that is not enough. In fact, that's not the main point. The main point is, why do you do what you do? And Simon Sinek, in this TED Talk, he talks about 2 examples, really. One is Apple, the company Apple, and what they do. And the other is the Wright brothers, who discovered flight for the first time. And he talks about why lots of you probably own an Apple product. Let's have a show of hands who owns Apple. Okay, some people own Apple. And the thing is, Apple don't focus on what are we going to make next. They don't focus on what would the next good computer look like? How can we make a good computer? That's not what they focus on. They focus on how can we genuinely transform the lives of the people, of our clients, of our customers. How can we give them a more interesting and exciting life through our products? And when we talked about the Wright brothers who discovered flight, he made a really great point, which is at the same time as the Wright brothers managed to just make an aeroplane, there were lots of other people who had a lot more money and a lot more resource who were going about the business of trying to create an aeroplane. And he makes a really strong point, which is if your motivations are really powerful, those are the people who succeed. So, what's the why for me? Well, this is data from when I was doing Teach First. This is what happens to pupils born in poverty. So I'm going to read it out so that you can get some translation. So these are pupils in England whose homes have a low income. And what you can see is almost half of them get no qualifications. In England, we have an exam at 16 years old. And if you get below a standard, it's not good. You don't have good opportunities in the future. And there are some other groups who do well. But when we think about how many pupils born into poverty get to go to a good university in England, the answer is 2%. 2% of children. And you might say, well, not everybody can go to a top university. Maybe. Not everyone. It's a fair point. But if you were born into my background and you go to a private school, you definitely, 90-something% go to university, and over 50% go to a top third university. So you're 25 times more likely to go to a top university if your parents are rich than if your parents are poor. It's nothing to do with your genes. It's nothing to do with what you're born with. It's about the expectations on you, and it's about how the education system treats you. That's my belief. So for me, this is the why. Okay? For me, this is what I get angry about and excited about. So when I imagined I was going to have a workshop and there were going to be just maybe 20 people, I was going to ask each person to talk about their purpose. Okay? There are lots of us, so it might be quite difficult to go around everybody. But if I say, why do you do the work that you do, it would be nice for you to have a moment to think about that and try and put it into words. Why is it that you are the principal of a school? Why is it that you're a teacher with Teach for Bulgaria? Why is it that you're still a teacher 2 years later, 3 years later? What is it that is actually motivating you? So probably a bit scary for people to have to talk in front of everyone, but maybe we could talk in twos or threes and try and put that into words. Okay, so I'll give you 1 minute to talk to each other about that. This gentleman here would like to ask a question.
Actually, my question is for you.
Okay.
You said think about your purpose, think about your why. But I was thinking about something else. Behind you, it's written a quality education for every child. If this is the mission, if this is my mission, if this is my why, what you just shared with us, that actually the level of expectation is the most important, the determining factor.
Yes.
Is this mission mission impossible? If the mission is to bring quality education to every child, but if on the other side there is no expectation, is there a purpose behind quality education for every child?
So when I was teaching in my Teach First school, what struck me was the 13-year-olds that I was teaching, I think, were just as clever as me and my friends when I was 13. Maybe we had been taught different things, but they were smart, you know? If you told them, if you put them in a situation where they were going to get a detention after school, they'd be very clever about finding a way not to be in detention after school. So I felt like there's no reason why these children couldn't have a great education and a great life. And that, for me, that kind of personal difference between what was normal for the children I grew up with and what was normal for those children I was teaching made me think that all children could achieve. But what I thought would be nice if anyone was brave enough to say what the why is for them. And I've already had a volunteer. So can we take the microphone to this gentleman? That would be nice. And someone over here maybe can be brave. Thank you for being brave. And you're going to be ready in a second. Good.
Hi, Max.
Hi.
I'm sorry this is in English. I can order 3 beers and a gin and tonic in Bulgarian, but that's for later. I'm a kid from social housing in North London. I was a kid from the little red bit. So from social housing, at the age of 24, I got a PhD from Oxford. I have no idea how, but what's significant to me is it was 45 years until the next person in my family went to university, and no kid has even gone to high school from the road in which I lived. So somewhere inside me, there's a nagging, acidic feeling that I've got to do something about the abject failure of the English system, with every educational reform in the last 100 years failing to meet the needs of kids who were brought up in the environment I was brought up in.
Thank you for sharing that. And is there someone who would like to share the why for them? We're going to give it a round of applause. Thank you for sharing. Okay.
Добър ден, колеги. Аз съм скарана с филологията, за това ще говоря на български език. Надявам се да могат да преведат това, което ще кажа. Да. Аз съм продукт на българското образование, продукт на Софийския университет. С колегите тук, които имахме възможност за около 5 минути да си кажем какъв е смисълът ние да бъдем част от образователната система, си казахме, че образователната система е предизвикателство и експеримент, а нашият смисълът, че всеки ден за нас е предизвикателство и експеримент, не че образователната система е експеримент, извинете, грешно си изказах, и че ние имаме една обща мисия. Нашите ученици и онова, което влагаме в тях, да бъдат по-добри от нас, да създадат едно по-здраво поколение и да имат едно по-добро образование. Но качественото образование, не знам дали колегите, които преподават в български училища, се срещат с този проблем. Учениците влизат с едно невидимо бесило на своите глави и образованието за тях не е интересно, не е забавно, не е емоционално. Когато ние трябва да се справим с този проблем, ние излизаме извън рамката на училищния учебен план или на учебния план в стандартите, в които е заложен. Тогава идва моментът, в който ние трябва да се сборим с учебният материал и да го модифицираме в нещо по-различно, да приложим нещо по-различно. Много красиви практики се споделят тук, но истината е, че нашата образователна система е различна от образователната система в Великобритания, доколкото аз съм компетентна с това, мисля, че ще се съгласите. И от тук изказаното в общение, за да не става много изказваща се, смисълът за нас е в това всяко едно дете да влезне в час с желанието да учи, да има качествено образование, но едно качествено образование учениците предразполагат учителя той да даде качественото образование. Той може да даде много от себе си, може да направи часът изключително красив и увлекателен, но ако учениците не го позволят, това няма как да се случи. Благодаря ви.
So the translator is doing an awesome job into English, so I hope he's doing well into Bulgarian. That was really interesting because obviously I've learned a lot by listening to you. I think that of course the systems are different. I think what I would want to get across today is that I think, the way you just described the children and the teacher and their role is it's like within a bubble. It's like fixed. That's what I heard from what you said. And the reason why I left teaching and then came back and started my own school is because I feel like the things that are fixed, the system says are fixed, don't need to be fixed. By fixed, I mean static. I think they can change. And I feel like a head teacher or a principal is one of the key levers in changing the system. But thank you very much for sharing both of your stories. Should we give her a round of applause as well for sharing her ideas? Okay. There's going to be more chance for you to speak to each other and share in a second. Let me talk to you about another writer. So there's a leadership writer called Jim Collins. He's written leadership books for a while, and he has used this phrase, which I've used with children. When the children start our school, when they're 11 years old, we got them to dream about what they could be in the future. And we asked them to set BHAGs. That's how you say that, BHAGs. And BHAG stands for Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. So I don't know how the translator is going to cope with that one. And Jim Collins talks about what are the goals that an organization should set for itself. And my focus here is as a principal of a school. So what should the goals be for a school? And for me, the why and the goals you set need to be so linked. If your why is, I want to give children a better life, and your goal is, I want to, for some of the children to pass a test, like, is that the same thing? It would be a question. So, just so you understand what I mean by a big, hairy, audacious goal, you'll recognize this guy, JFK. 1961, the Americans are very angry about many things, usually about many things, but specifically in 1961 about what the Russians had just done, which is to send a man into space. So the Americans thought this was very unreasonable for the Russians to do this first. So the Americans decided in this famous speech, I think May 1961, that that America would commit before the 1960s decade was out to take a man to the moon and safely return him. And the reason why I think that's such a great example of a big, hairy, audacious goal is it's a goal which is so extraordinary, so ambitious, that it is transformational in terms of what it means for the people who are involved in that goal. So there's a nice story where a year later he was touring around the NASA headquarters, and he was asking, the scientists, what do you do? What's your job? And there was a janitor sweeping, just sweeping, keeping things tidy. And he asked, what do you do, to this janitor? And the janitor said, I'm working to make sure we can put a man on the moon. And when we talk to children and when we talk to teachers as leaders of schools, we don't want the answer to be, I'm coming to school because I have to. I'm coming to school because I need to get some grades in a paper. And when we talk to our teachers, we don't want them to say, I'm going because, I have to, because it's my job, because, I want the kids to learn. It needs to be powerful. It needs to be transformational. And July the 20th, 1969, the Americans put a man on the moon. What I think is important about the goals here is that they are so ambitious that they change the nature of what's happening. So the challenge I would give to any principals in the room is, what are the goals for your school? Because if the goals for the school are standard, they're normal, you can't expect extraordinary outcomes for children. So when I started the school, I said that the goal for our school is every single child who comes to our school, and our school is in the bottom 1% in terms of poverty. So there are 3,000 schools, secondary schools in the UK, and our school is in the bottom 30 for poverty. And I'm saying every single one of my children is going to go into that part there, 100%. And there were lots of people over the years who said, that's it's stupid. It's a stupid goal. It's stupid because it's unrealistic, and it builds a lack of belief because you're setting something so high that it can't be achieved, and therefore it's meaningless. And what I would say is that you're not going to get anywhere worth getting to if you don't aim high. And so have we currently got 100% of our children into the red part? No, we haven't. But we have had our first cohort go to university, and instead of the red being like that, the red is more like this. Now, I'd love it to be all the way round, but I hope one day we will get there. But if we don't aim for something extraordinary, we're not going to get somewhere extraordinary. And by setting that goal of getting into a top university, we can then think, well, what does that mean today? What needs to happen today? So I'd love for you to have another opportunity to talk to each other. If you're a teacher, think about what is a genuinely audacious goal. I'm not talking about just, this year goes well, the children learn some stuff. I'm talking about a goal which would change what it means for you to be their teacher. And if you're a principal or a vice principal of a school, to ask yourself, what is the goal for our school? What is something so outlandish, so crazy, so difficult to achieve that it would change what we do? Not what's our target for this year, but what's our goal for forever. Okay? So a chance for you to talk again. Okay, everyone, I'm going to stop us there. We've got the microphones. Is anyone brave enough to share a goal? No one's going to hold you to it. No one's going to come back and say you didn't achieve your goal. Yes, thank you for being brave.
Hello. I'm not a teacher, but I tried fitting into the shoes of a teacher and finding an audacious goal. So my audacious goal would be for every child to be brave enough, to be comfortable enough, and to have enough resources in order to educate in the direction of their dreams. So individual education for every child, more or less.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Okay, does anyone else like to share? Yes, thank you.
Yes, hi. I would like to share my idea. I'm a teacher and I work in a suburb school. And every year it's a struggle to get enough kids to start the year properly. And my class, which you can see here, that's the entire class, so they're just 10 people.
This is so exciting.
And yeah, we have real students around. Thank you. So it's really cool to be the head teacher of such a little class because you can actually achieve individual education.
Yeah.
But my audacious goal for my school is not for it to be a school where we struggle for kids. I think it should be a school where kids should struggle to be. So we're in a really nice region in terms of, the building is great, the beauty around is great, and so on and so forth. And it's a great learning environment. So I think it would be great if actually kids want to come there. So I think our great plan ahead should be something like that.
Okay, thank
Thanks.
you for sharing. I think, thank you. I think you're very lucky to have a teacher who brings you to conferences. That's very, very fun. Okay, some of you saw the picture of a hedgehog and you're thinking, what is it with the hedgehog? Okay, so this is a second idea from, I'm hoping the translator knows the word for hedgehog, does he? Has he been successful? Okay, nobody's telling me. He does, good, there's a nod, okay. So Jim Collins talks about a hedgehog versus a fox, okay? Fox does many things, sneaks around, chases things, digs things up. It can run away, it can run fast, it can do a lot of things. Hedgehog, it's got one thing. It's just one thing it can do, and that is to roll into a ball with spikes. That's all it does. And Jim Collins makes the point that if you're clear about being a hedgehog, rolling up and having really good spikes, you're in a great position because you're so your approach is so clear and so effective that you are safe and sound because you're a hedgehog. And this idea kind of, I think, is really relevant to schools. When I started a school from scratch, there's a real temptation to try and do, like, tick the boxes. Okay, I need to do this much English. I need to do this much maths. I need to have a school day that looks this long. I need to interact with parents in this way. And I was very lucky because in England, in the system we operate in, actually there aren't that many rules. If I'm judged to be doing a good job by the system, then I can basically do a lot of things, a lot of different things. And I've been in Bulgaria for about 4 hours, but I've had 5 conversations about Bulgarian education. And what it sounds like is there's a little bit of freedom for the principals, but there's also a lot of constraints. So if that's true, then one thing you could do as an education system would be to bring out a big hammer and smash up the system. Because if a head teacher can't control things in their school, then I don't believe the school can genuinely be great. That's my opinion. Okay, so let's just talk about what this hedgehog thing is. So there's 3 strands to it. The first one is so important, is what gets you out of bed in the morning? What are you passionate about? And I'm thinking about this as from a teacher's point of view. Like, if the thing that gets you excited is, I don't know, music, then, you know, coming into school every day and doing nothing to do with music, it's unlikely you're going to hit your hedgehog. The second is, I love this, what can we be the best in the world at? And that's, I think, such a powerful question because it's not about being okay and ticking a box and achieving, like, satisfactory or, like, the standard in things. That isn't going to lead to greatness. And the last is, this is kind of like reality. What drives your resource engine? It kind of means you've got limitations, right? The government of Bulgaria is only going to give a school a certain amount of money. So whatever you do needs to be realistic. It needs to work within a system. And so what I wanted to share with you kind of ahead of tomorrow's time when I'll speak more about the school is what is the hedgehog concept of the school that I started. There's a lot of words here, and maybe you think it's too big to be a hedgehog. A hedgehog's very small. But these are some things that I think are really important. So the first thing about the school that I started is that it's all through. That means we take children when they're 3 years old and we work with them until they're 18. And most school systems in Europe and in the world operate with division at certain ages. So you do kindergarten and you change schools. You get to 11 years old, you change schools. You get to 15 years old, you change schools. People are nodding, so I'm assuming that's what happens in Bulgaria. I think that the reasons why school systems do that are not very good reasons. And that if a school, and in my case, the school I lead, can have a 3-year-old who doesn't speak properly, can't do maths, and they set themselves the goal of what 18-year-old can we create, there's actually going to be accountability and a sense of purpose to what happens next. So that's the first thing. The second I've spoken about, which is being clear about what we're trying to achieve for the pupils, that they're confident with the academics and the culture of university. The third is that I love that there's a class with just 10 people in it because it makes for a very tight-knit family. In our school system in the UK, schools are often very big. So secondary schools might be 1,000 people, 1,500 people big. And I believe that that isn't the right environment to educate children in, because the children just become part of a machine. They just become a number. So the idea of close relationships, and lastly, that we can genuinely create a great education for the children who start behind. So in the UK, the way we started the school, we've taken children some of the children into the school when they're 11. Now we take them in when they're 3. But those 11-year-olds were statistically, basically, there was no way that they could get good qualifications. And despite that, we have been able to bring them up from a low level to a high level. And I think being really clear that that is our mission, that we are there to make it happen for all the children, is really important. So what does that mean we actually do? So this is a picture of our orchestra. So a good example of that is that every single child in our school learns a string instrument, the viola, the violin, or the cello. Cello's down here. Every single child, not the ones who've got rich parents who can afford the lessons, not the ones who, when they're 11-year-old, think that they want to learn an instrument. All of our children learn an instrument. And I think if we ever did a tour to Bulgaria, they could probably just about fit on this stage. 1 year group of 60 children playing in an orchestra. And that happening, they kind of rehearse and have lessons kind of 4 times a week. And that's one example. And then the other is kind of the number of trips we organize. So in our school, we take the children outside of school a lot, and we're taking them on trips that we think are going to make their characters more ambitious, confident, and there'd be stronger relationships in the school. And so how we organize the school comes from what we're trying to do. So because of the type of school we're trying to be, that informs what we do in the school. So my last question for you to discuss, really, is what is it that you in your classroom, or you in your, as a head teacher, what is it that is special about your school that is different to other schools? And I think, I've already understood that there are some things that are regulated by the Ministry of Education. It's set. You do this, you do this. But even within regulation, there's variety, there's variation. And so my question would be what is different? If you're clear about what your goal is, that you want something amazing to happen for children, what is different about what you're doing to make it possible for that goal to be achieved? So another chance for you to talk to the people around you about that. So I'd be keen to ask if anyone was able to share. What is it that you do differently in your school or in your classroom because of what you're trying to achieve? Is anyone brave enough to share? Thank you for being brave to share. Can we have the microphone make its way down? Is the microphone wonderful?
Здравейте, казвам се Христина и искам да споделя с вас кое е различното в моето училище. Не само на думи, а в действителност ние поставяме в центъра всяко отделно дете. Така че ние се стараем всяко дете да постигне максималното за себе си. Дали ще бъде невероятен спортист, дали ще се развива като лингвист или пък ще постига успехи в рисуването, това зависи само от него и от нас, неговите учители. Не от програми, стандарти и от друго нещо. Важни са наистина децата.
Is there anyone else who would like to share? Okay, good. Thank you for sharing. So, tomorrow, for those of you who will be joining us tomorrow, I'm going to talk a lot more about the school and my journey and how it started. But as I've learned today, the journey to England is not very far. So if you would like to be in contact with me or visit the school, you're very welcome to do so. But until tomorrow morning, I'm going to finish there. Thank you very much.